To the Spoken Truth post game edition. I go by the name of Denny.
I'm Chaz.
And I'm Tunde.
And we just seen a great game between the Golden State Warriors and the Boston Celtics as the Celtics storm back and take game one of these NBA finals. I wanted to start with Tunde. Since you picked this team to win not only the series, but you picked this team to win game one, what are your initial reactions from this victory?
That's his initial reaction.
Yeah, that's his initial reaction.
Initial reaction is this is a solid cup of wine right here. Ah man,
Can't go with that.
So you asked me about basketball, I believe.
Yes. What are your initial reactions from this Celtics comeback win?
My initial reaction is don't let Boston win this series, man. I'm gonna be y'all are not gonna want to talk to me. I will be absolutely insufferable if they win this series. Don't let Boston win this series, man. That being said, from a basketball perspective, I mean, there's a lot going on here. It's a really interesting series. I think there were a lot of good signs for Boston here, even if they had lost this game. Them coming back and winning and having the fourth quarter that they did was huge. I think that you have to start, as all things do with Boston, with their best player, Jayson Tatum, having such an off shooting night, 3 for 17. And I mean, the playmaking from him was fantastic. We saw at various points in the game, the Warriors even went box and one, which I thought was a really, really fun schematic change. I expect to see that one again, because I don't know that Boston quite solved it, especially because they had Jordan Poole as the guy guarding Jayson Tatum, which was intentional. Jordan Poole being the worst defender on the floor and probably the worst defender of the Warriors rotation means that, when they're kind of rotating and having those other 4 guys fly around, he's the one who's kind of has the least ability to affect the game defensively. Thought that was a really nice, schematic adjustment. I think one of the things that we saw in this game, though, is kind of one of the keys that I pointed out. The Warriors really simply I just don't think they have the personnel to guard both of the Jays. You have
one of the Jays guarded itself today,
and the other one was cooking. So I mean, I think therein lies my point, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can only exert so much energy towards both of them. Like, I mean, they shut down Tatum, to an extent, but then you let Jaylen Brown get off. Like, I feel like one guy is always going to have the freedom. If he's clicking, then I don't know what the Warriors really do with that.
I mean, but in my opinion, Tunde, we can let you finish your point. My opinion, you can let Jaylen Brown explode and you still can win. In my opinion,
but you're not going to be able to shut down Tatum every single game, though. I mean, for them to win this game with Tatum struggling, like, that's really important, I feel like.
Okay. Go ahead, Tunde.
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think they have the personnel to guard both of them. We saw Andrew Wiggins saw a decent amount of Jayson Tatum tonight. Did a good job, and Jaylen Brown got wherever he wanted to on the court pretty much whenever, especially in the fourth quarter. Another thing I thought was really interesting is watching the way the Warriors guarded Luka Doncic versus how they decided to guard Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Normally with these guys who try to hunt, Steph Curry and Jordan Poole, we've kind of seen the Warriors again take on somewhat of this style with LeBron James over the years. They hard hedge. They don't want to give up the switch, and they really kind of try to go out of their way to not do that. Tonight, we saw them concede the switch multiple times, and it looked like it was clearly a choice. Like, they were cool with conceding the switch, especially to Jaylen Brown. With that being said, I feel like it's pretty clear it didn't work. Like, they they let that switch happen, and Jaylen Brown again, he got to the rim, he created, was able to shoot over people in the mid range, got wherever he wanted, and even with the issues Jayson Tatum had putting the ball in the rim, and to be clear, I don't. That's not gonna stick around. Like he was missing open catch and shoot threes and smoking layups. That's not gonna keep happening. Jayson Tatum did a phenomenal job creating for others today. And I mean, I think we saw the beneficiaries of that be, Derek White and Al Horford, who had NBA Jam fire shooting out of their ass in the fourth quarter. So, yeah. Just hell of a game. I think on the defensive side, Boston's going to have to figure out a little bit of something. I mentioned before the game, I was a bit worried about their pick and roll coverage on Steph, or just in general. Turns out I was right to be worried about that. It was not great tonight. Steph kept getting open threes in that exact scenario. Some of it was, like semi-transition, and they kind of caught Boston napping. But just in general, I think they prefer to play their bigs in a deep drop. They're probably going to have to bring the bigs up to be at the level of the screen just so Steph can't get open looks. I don't think you want to, I don't think you really want to play percentages of letting him shoot with Steph Curry. It's just not. It's not a recipe for sustainable success. But all this adds up to one notch for Tunde and being correct.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Steve Kerr was definitely throwing a lot at Tatum, and it was obviously getting to him. Like Tunde, like you said, they were doing the box and one. They had Wiggins on him if they were in man, although they were also switching a lot of stuff. I think, they're going to continue to do stuff like that to try and frustrate him, but it's not going to be as successful in other games. So, for them to shoot like this in the fourth quarter, 9 of 12 from 3-point range, Al Horford to go off like he did, career high 6 3-pointers. I thought he was probably the biggest difference in that fourth quarter. In the pregame, I said that I thought that Al Horford, Draymond Green was one of the biggest matchups. And then we all agreed that 3-point shooting and turnovers were huge keys. Boston won both of those. And then Al Horford, I mean, he had 26, I think, 6 3-pointers, an 8-0 run in the fourth quarter. I feel like it was a really impressive win for Boston to get on the road, in game one, which, in the Steve Kerr era, I think they were 21-2 coming in. So that's always huge. Now you put some pressure on Golden State at home in game two. I mean, I don't know much else to say. It looked like that game was over going into the fourth quarter. I think they were down 12, right? And then for them to outscore them 40-16 in that quarter was just big time.
For me, I actually am kind of opposite of you, Chaz. I don't think there's any pressure on Golden State. I think Golden State blew this game. More so, I think the Celtics took this game. First of all, they shouldn't have been leading at halftime. The Warriors blew that lead, and then the Warriors turn around and blow a fourth quarter lead, getting outscored 14-16. I'm sorry, 40-16. No one really showed up except Steph Curry when it really mattered the most. You have Wiggins with 20. There were some bright spots with him, but again, I talked earlier about the impact of your points and how Jaylen Brown's, his points are okay, but Jayson Tatum points are loud. But today it seemed like Jaylen Brown points were loud because Jayson Tatum, because Jayson Tatum really didn't have anything going. So, and then I look down the list and you got Thompson with 15, but it was a rather inefficient 15. You have Draymond Green with 4 points. You got Wiggins with 20 points, but they weren't impactful in my eye. The only two players on the Warriors I thought had really an impact on this game was, three big threes by Otto Porter and Steph Curry, who scored 21 points in the first quarter. He scored 14 for the next game. So the Celtics have a Steph problem because they quite did not figure out how to contain or guard Steph. This whole notion that Marcus Smart can stop Steph, that's not a thing. So no one particularly was able to guard Steph. I think for the Warriors, you have to look at your personnel and say, who can contribute right now and to winning basketball? Klay Thompson, again, inefficient 15 points. Jordan Poole, virtually no show. I get it. He's young. Maybe nerves, a lot has to do with it, but not even hitting rim. I mean, to me, he was nervous. And you could really see it. I mean, Andre Iguodala, I watched him give up 3 layups at the rim. I mean, under the rim, passed it out, turned it to turnovers. Draymond Green making careless mistakes with the basketball. The Warriors had double-digit turnovers again. You cannot beat this Celtics team making careless basketball plays. You cannot not take care of the ball and expect to beat a team like this. You cannot do that and expect to beat the number 1 ranked defense in the NBA. It's just not a thing. It's just not possible. So, yes, the Warriors blew this, but I'm not going to overreact to one game from them losing this. I expect them to play better. I expect everyone to come with more energy. I expect everyone to contribute. We were talking about the individuals that showed up for Boston, and although Jayson Tatum didn't show up, he has showed up in different ways, but other players around him, Horford, White, Smart, Brown, all showed up in key ways. Jayson Tatum, although he had a no-show on the offensive end, he still had double-digit in assists. So he still contributes to some way of winning, even when his shot wasn't falling. He shot abysmal 3 for 17. That's fine. The nerves could have got to him too. Maybe the shot wasn't falling. Maybe it was a defense that he saw. It could be a mixture of things. But the Golden State Warriors team is not better than Boston. When you're talking 1 through 12, their team is not better than Boston. So they just have the better player. And if he can't get any help, I don't expect the Warriors to win this series. Now, I picked the Warriors in 7, so I anticipated a long series. I did pick them to win game 1, which it looked like we were on track for that to happen, Chaz, but we didn't expect fourth quarter to happen the way that fourth quarter happened.
They completely fell apart, didn't they?
They completely fell apart in the fourth quarter. So a lot of that, I hate to say it, a lot of that is on Steph. I mean, he only could do so much, even though he scored 34. I mean, he was 12 for 25. He shot 48% from the field. I mean, he 6 threes in the first quarter. In the first half. So he was
first quarter, right?
I said the first quarter, yeah.
Yeah, and then you only had 1 for the rest of the game, I think.
He only had 1 for the rest of the game. So I'm saying you can't drop off like that. Yeah. You can't just go from 21 to just a drop off. I'm not saying anything as far as a choke or anything like that. I'm saying he has to contribute and play better in those situations, his team as a whole. Because, to be honest, the Celtics didn't really beat this team. Their effort did. Boston just had more effort in the fourth quarter than the Warriors. They started making more shots. Warriors got lackadaisical. Warriors was just turning the ball over, being careless with the ball, making bad decisions, weren't hitting shots. And the Celtics just kept coming. That's what they do. They never stop. So I anticipate this to be a long series. In no way am I going to concede and say Boston has won this thing. They took care of business. The Warriors just have to go and win game 2, and we're back to a 5-game series. So, and my last point, Boston plays better on the road. That's been a key throughout this entire playoffs. They play better on the road. They actually have a worse record at home than on the road. So, is it possible to win in Boston? Absolutely. So there's a lot of things going on right now, but I know Boston fans, especially Tunde, are happy right now that they got the dub.
Don't call me a Boston fan, please.
I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to spoil
hard
it.
line there.
I'm not going to spoil it for you guys. But you guys deserve to win, and the Warriors flat out didn't.
Please don't call me a Boston fan.
I mean, you're rooting for Boston.
I like being right. I don't really want them people to win. But anyway,
hold on. So you're doing all this, and you don't really want Boston to win?
He likes the team, not the fans, though.
I like the player. I like a lot of the players on Boston's roster. I don't like the organization. I really don't like the fans of the city. So, just to
But you are rooting for them in the series pretty hard, so.
Yeah, so let me see.
So you got to wear that.
You got to wear being a Boston fan, man. You're rooting for the team.
That made me feel gross. I mean, I don't know how much more help does Steph need? They have All-Star game starter Andrew Wiggins on the roster, right?
He played okay, but
I'm fucking with you.
Yeah, his 20 points were not impactful to me. It's a difference. When Steph Curry scores 35 or 40 and he's launching and draining threes, you as a defense feel that. That's different if you're scoring another way. And I didn't even realize how Al Horford had 23 points. I looked at the box score and I'm like, he had 23 points. I'm like, when did he score? So those points to me were quiet 23 points. I mean, in the fourth quarter, he exploded. I was able to see that. He scored 8 straight. But other than that, I'm like, oh, he ended up with 23, 25? Oh, I didn't even know. The impact of Steph points is vastly different at that of Al Horford's. You know Steph Curry has, he's bombing you and he's hitting these threes. I didn't want to use bombing. That is not the term to use at this point in time in the world. He's shooting threes everywhere. You feel that. When Al Horford has 23, 25, I looked at the box score after the game. I'm like, oh, man, he had a great fourth quarter. But I'm like, oh, I didn't realize he scored that many points. But
I mean, he was louder than Steph in the fourth quarter, right?
That's what I just said. Fourth quarter.
I just asked
those points were loud.
If you
I just said the fourth quarter. I literally just said the fourth quarter.
I mean, that's the biggest part of the game. Like, that's when you expect Steph to show up. Like,
can I just get some clarification? What the fuck are loud points?
Okay, so it's a difference. Okay, so let's break this down for the folks at home. So,
okay, please.
So when a particular person, I'm going to use Steph as an example because he's probably the most explosive player in the league when it comes to this. So, is a difference between a Steph 40 and hold on, use the example. It's a difference between a Steph 40 and I don't know what player I want to use. Okay. It's a difference between a Steph 40 and someone like, I'm just going to use Draymond Green, whatever, is a difference between those two in scoring 40 points. When Steph Curry is scoring 40 points, for one, the crowd is in it. The crowd is involved. Every time he's draining a three, it's like the roof, everything seems to be amped up more than what it is. Versus if someone like Draymond Green is getting his points in the paint, and all he's doing is throwing up bunnies and he get his way to 40. He's scoring, but the impact on his points are not like overly hyped or exaggerated. It's like when Steph hits 6 consecutive threes, the roof off Chase will like explode. Versus if Draymond gets 6 continuous layups, they're not going to explode as much as they would if Steph is knocking down threes. That's why I say it's a difference in the sheer volume of your points. Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown can each have 40 points, but the way that they get their points is vastly different. Jaylen Brown can dice you. He can score from the 3, inside, outside, dunk on you. But when Jayson Tatum is scoring, it seems like his impact on his points is more. Like, I don't know if that was a good analogy or if you don't understand anymore, but that's like literally what I'm talking about. Russell Westbrook versus LeBron. LeBron 40 points is going to be loud. Dunks, threes, doing his little.
I feel like any 40-point game is going to be loud, right?
I would agree with. Hey.
I know, not really. No, not to me.
Okay,
not to me.
I mean, unless it's like 24 free throws or something.
DeMar DeRozan could get 40 points, and he get them all on twos, and I'm like, oh, he got 40 points in twos.
You're going to be bored out of a 40-point game from DeMar DeRozan.
I just think it's a difference. In the sure value of point of. It's like when Steph walked down and they were, the game was like tuck and nail and they were going back and forth. And Steph came down, I think it was middle of third quarter, and he had a chance to extend the lead from like 5 to, I think it was like 10 to like 13. And you could just feel the anticipation as he dribbled the ball up. Dre set the pick. He called the pick off. So Steph rolls and he misses a 3 while Marcus Smart was guarding him. But you can feel the anticipation in the fans in the stadium that if he made that shot, it's going to be like the roof came off Chase Stadium. That's what I'm saying. It's just different.
Because it's Steph, though, right?
Yeah, but I'm saying
that's their. That's their guy. Like
I'm not saying, but
any shot he takes from beyond the arc.
I'm saying it's a difference between that and Jordan Poole taking that shot. It's not the same. Although it weighs that they're both a 3 shot, you same amount of points. I'm saying one person is going to get the crowd so hyped that they're going to actually get back into the game versus a person, if they make it, the crowd might be like, okay, we went to 13. But I'm saying the impact of the shot by the person to me matters. And I think it's only a handful of people that they could score 40, 60. Think what Steph scores like 62. And he did it on Damian Lillard. Even though, like, no one was in the arena. Like, this is when it was when COVID. You still could feel the anticipation of scoring 62 points.
Yeah, but don't you think Portland fans felt the same way when Dame scored 60 also that season?
Yes, but that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the player. I'm saying the player. They have that type of impact. I'm not saying Damian doesn't.
I agree with you. I feel like, to an extent, like, there are players and there are shots that are different than others. Every 3-pointer is not equal to every 3-pointer. Obviously,
not at all.
Yeah. You can factor in a bunch of different things into that. But if we're talking a 40-point game, it's not explosive. Anybody that goes off for that,
That's not what I said.
I know, but
I hear.
I said all 40-point games are not created equal.
Danny,
anybody. Go ahead, Tunde.
Sorry, Danny. I definitely hear what you're saying and what you're trying to get at. Personally, I feel like points are points, but I hear you. Chaz, I am curious. I don't think we've gotten to hear too much from you. What do you feel like you saw out there tonight?
I agree with a lot of what you guys are saying. Obviously, in that third quarter, I thought that the game was probably over. They got up by like 14. It might have been even more than that. Porter and Poole were really clicking. It was that patented third quarter that the Warriors have, that they kind of create that separation and then they kind of coast in the fourth quarter. We've seen that dozens of times in the Steve Kerr in this core. But so that's kind of what I was thinking going into that fourth quarter. And then I think it was from like the 9-minute mark to, maybe 7-minute mark, Jaylen Brown just absolutely took over. He got right. He had a corner 3-pointer. He got right to the bucket a few times. He did have the one turnover where he was in transition. He got up on the 1 foot and then threw it away. And I was kind of worried, that might be a type of play that, takes him out of it and Celtics can't recover. I think the Warriors went down and scored on that, but they just kept coming back. Even when Klay Thompson hit a big 3-pointer to retake the lead, the Celtics just kept coming, kept getting wide open shots. And then Horford got going, Marcus Smart got going, and they just sealed it in that fourth quarter. That's what it seemed like to me in that fourth, that just the Warriors just didn't have anybody that could respond. Like, they couldn't get stops and they weren't creating good shots. They started rushing a little bit, and by the time they kind of got it together, it was too late. They were down by 10.
Yeah, kind of.
In particular, I think Derek White was huge tonight.
Yeah.
The three he made to tie the game at, I want to say tie it up at 103.
Yeah.
Where he caught it on the wing with Steph on him. The shot a contested three as the shot clock was going off and knocked it down. Actively made me laugh. That shit was hilarious. You know, none of that is sustainable. Like,
but you'll Why did it make you laugh, Sunday?
Because none of it is sustainable.
It isn't. It isn't.
No, it's not.
How many? But all you need is Derek White to help you win one game, really. I mean, like that's what it is in a lot of these series. You're only trying to get to 4. I mean, you don't need him to play well in 7 games. You need him to play well in maybe 3, and he's got one of them down early.
I mean, if you're telling me that Al Horford and White are going to play like this, I'm going to tell you the Celtics are going to win this series. But I don't anticipate that to continue through this series.
Do you think they could do that 4 times?
No, not maybe Horford. I don't think White can do that 4 times.
Yeah,
I think I also don't think that Jayson Tatum will have another bad game like this. You know, yeah. So right. You know, but I also don't expect the Warriors, and we might as well get into takeaways here. I don't expect the Warriors to be, this bad come game 2. I expect Steph to be Steph, but I expect other Warriors to come and join the party.
Besides the lack of scoring from other guys, what do you think was the biggest problem for the Warriors?
I think to throw something out there, against this Boston team, they play there were several lineups where there were just too many non-scoring threats on the floor. I don't know how sustainable it'll be to try to play Draymond Green and Kevon Looney together down the stretch. I don't know how sustainable it'll be to play like Andre Iguodala and Draymond Green down the stretch. I don't know that works. I think against this defense, it probably doesn't work if they've got 2 of those guys. What we ended up seeing, there were several times where it'd be like Steph might beat Derek White on a back cut, but because Robert Williams doesn't really have to guard, his man, he's erasing that shot at the rim. He's tuned in on that. And you just need the ability to make them, just a nominal threat out there. I mean, especially because they weren't getting stops anyway. It's tough because, love him to death. You guys know how great a basketball player I think he is, but if it's like that, you might, if it's like that, it might not be the craziest thing in the world to think about sitting Draymond Green some of these fourth quarters, not the whole fourth quarter, but a few minutes here and there. I mean, it's tough stuff. I mean, I think also there's some interesting stuff on the Celtics side, takeaways. One of my takeaways, they probably can't play Daniel Tice at all in this series.
I don't think he saw the floor today, did he?
Oh, he did. It was bad.
Yeah, he did, and he got caught in drop coverage at least once, right?
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing him on the court. Maybe I went to the restroom or something, but
yeah, he got pulled, and I don't know if he got back in after that.
He did.
Yeah.
I was really impressed with the fact that Peyton Pritchard was able to continually be on the court. I will say he early in the game, they ended up making a 3 on this possession, but he caught and pump faked a look that I thought he should have took. If Peyton Pritchard isn't, catching and shooting the ball, he probably shouldn't play because, on the other end is bad. I also found it very interesting that Boston's big run, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but Boston's big run came with Marcus in the fourth quarter, came with Marcus Smart off the court.
Yeah.
So there's a little part of me that doesn't think that wasn't totally coincidental, or that wasn't totally accidental. Marcus Smart, as much as he brings to that roster with his the playmaking and his ability to kind of connect a lot of the lineups together, does have a tendency to take some ill-advised shots. You love him, but in his mind, he's the star of the show, and we all know he's not the star of the show. There's only one Beyonce. Marcus Smart is Michelle Williams. Yeah, I think I'd be kind of interested in seeing if like throughout the game, like I was wondering, and I know he got minutes. He was kind of in the rotation to start the season, hasn't been in the playoff rotation. But Nemanja Bjelica, like getting some minutes to maybe serve as a little bit of a connector offensively for some of these lineups, I'd be interested in. But just like the lineups the Warriors are throwing out there, just a lot of them just didn't have enough scoring to make it work.
Chas?
Yeah, I think Bjelica is a guy that could play. He's not going to be able to just, shut down Horford, but he would be able to stay with him, enough on that end of the floor where, you could keep him out there on offense. I agree with you. I thought Payton Pritchard was huge. I think he had at least 2 3-pointers, a couple of big buckets in that fourth quarter run. I did want to ask you guys what you thought of the benches. I mean, coming into this game, I think the Warriors are a little bit deeper. I mean, they have kind of a handful of guys on that bench, when they're fully healthy, especially, with Porter and Gary Payton back in there. But, the Boston bench outscored them tonight. Derek White and Payton Pritchard were huge. I don't think Grant Williams had a very good night, but he is a guy that you can kind of count on also. So, what do you guys think about the benches going forward and tonight?
Danny, I'll let you go ahead. I said I'll let you go ahead. I've done a lot of talking.
I think for me, I think the Warriors have a slightly better bench when they're all healthy. I do think that Boston do have a lot of key components that come off their bench that could, provide offense and defense of scoring power and on the defensive side of the ball. But I will overall go with the Warriors when their bench is healthy. I wanted to go right back a little bit to Tunde's point when he was talking about Draymond and some of the takeaways from the game. I don't know how popular this would be based on his game one performance, which I think it had a lot to do with nerves. But if I'm Steve Kerr, I will highly consider starting Jordan Poole. I will highly consider starting Jordan Poole.
Instead of who?
Go ahead.
Instead of who?
See, I don't want them to go completely small, but if I'm being honest, I will take Looney and Draymond out the game, and I will put Kuminga in
to start.
They're not going to. No, they're not. Hear me out. They're not going to do that. But for purpose of stretching the floor, purpose of athleticism, purpose of firepower offensively, they're going to lack the size. They're going to lack. They're not going to get any rebounds. Let's call it what it is. But I mean, they might. Of course, you might tip it and stuff happens. But I will highly consider if I went too far and said Kuminga, I would definitely consider starting a version of your depth lineup in game 2 of these finals. Because not only does the Warriors right now lack offense, they're not playing the defense that we're accustomed to seeing them play anyways. So you have to supplement that with something. Although they're going to put Jordan Poole in almost every single pick and roll, you have to try to get the most out of him from the offensive end. And I know they're going to single him out. I know it may not work, but Steve Kerr now needs to go to the drawing board, and he needs to figure out what works. Who's going to give him offense? Who's going to play good to okay, great defense? You might have to put GP2 if he's healthy. I don't know his status right now. He didn't play any game 1. It seemed like that he's
not healthy.
Questionable. I think it's questionable for game 2. So I don't know if he's going to be ready or not. But under nurse circumstances, is Andre Iguodala playing as many minutes as he played tonight? It's just not. You can't do it. I mean, He could come in for spurts, but there's no way he should be occupying 10, 12 minutes on the court. He's passing up open layups. Man, I've saw 4 times in the fourth quarter just pass up open layups, turned into turnovers, turn the ball over. Boston getting out in traffic, and they got the disadvantage, and they're just scoring with ease because of these turnovers. And if you're a person rooting for the Warriors, you said this cannot be the best lineup you could put on the floor. You have to figure something out.
I don't think taking Draymond off the court is the answer, though.
I just don't think the lineup you threw out there would set an all-time record for points per possession, like giving up on defense. But no, like
there's only so much you can like nitpick and play with right now. You know, some of these teams are not going heavily in their bench. You know, maybe they play 7, 8, sometimes 9 deep. So you need to find those 8, 9 guys that you trust, and you just have to roll with it. I don't know what Steve Kerr can do because Draymond Green is becoming a liability on offense. Let's just call it what it is. He's not producing any points. He's great on the defensive end. He's great at setting your offense up, but we need him to look to score sometimes. I mean, man, can you give us 12 points? I mean, you have to give the Warriors something. He is starting to become a liability, and let's just call it what it is.
Yeah, I mean, he struggled tonight by all means. Like it wasn't good. I mean, I'm kind of curious to see what he says about this on his podcast.
Yeah.
You know, he struggled tonight, and I got that, but like, you know, I don't think you need to burn everything down. I think you know, Jordan Poole can't be this bad offensively again. You know, Clay shot the ball pretty well. You got a good game. You got a good game from All-Star game starter Andrew Wiggins.
Clay didn't shoot the ball well.
What did Clay shoot tonight?
I mean, he was 3 for 7 from 3. That's pretty good for. I feel like what
that's a 43% 3-point shooting.
Didn't matter. It
three,
didn't matter.
3 for 7.
It didn't matter. It didn't matter. What did Chad say earlier? No fourth quarter impact. No fourth quarter impact.
Fair. Okay. All right. Sure. No fourth quarter impact.
Nobody on that team really had any fourth quarter impact. It didn't seem like
got outscored by like 30 points in the fourth quarter. Everybody had a bad fourth quarter.
Yeah.
If that's the standard we're going off.
It wasn't that many points.
What Clay had?
It was 40-16.
Yeah.
Cool, you got me there. All right. They got their ass whooped. No matter how much they lost.
It wasn't that many.
Whatever helps you sleep. I just don't think. I think it's like we've talked about. Like you guys have heard me say this throughout the playoffs, but like these playoff series are long and like you can lose by 10, you can lose by 170. The Warriors lost one of those Memphis games by
50. They were down by 50
points. And then what? Happened? They closed out the series in the next game.
Yeah.
It's one loss. If you're, part of the Warriors organization, you go back to the drawing board a little bit. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. They played fairly well tonight, absent the fourth quarter. You have to figure out how you can you have to try to figure out some way to make Jordan Poole, Steph Curry lineups work. Because tonight they were, they didn't work defensively. And you have to figure out a way to have enough scoring punch on the floor to threaten them to avoid, quarters like what they had in the fourth quarter tonight. But like, that doesn't mean, like Draymond Green doesn't play. Andre Iguodala should never touch a basketball ever again. Like we ain't got to do all that.
I mean, I'm just gonna call Andre Iguodala should never been in that game. I'm just being honest. Like Andre Iguodala should have not been in that game. And I know he made a corner, he made a 3 that was needed. But Andre Iguodala, I've watched this man for I think 7 continuous minutes, commit 4 turnovers, had 3 literally just look up. The rim is right there. All you gotta do was lay it up right there. And he blew those. And he tossed it out, turned the ball over. You cannot do that. I don't know if this man just doesn't want to shoot the ball. I don't know if he has lost confidence. But when you're on that team, you have to take those shots. When you're right there and you just literally gave up 6 points ease. Because no one, I mean, at that particular time, they're all the attention was on Steph. So even if he slipped to the basket, Steph gave him the ball and he threw the ball out to a 3-point shot and he turned the ball over in the process. I mean, those type of careless turnovers and mistakes, when you're that deep in the paint, you shouldn't be looking to pass the ball to a 3-pointer. I'm sorry. When you're that deep in the paint, you need to attack, turn back to the basket, attack, make your move, score. There's no reason you should be trying to throw it back out to a 3-point shooter. You're right there. That's all I'm saying. You're right. Literally, look up, basket. Just throw it up there. I don't give a damn if it don't go in. Just throw it up there. See what happens.
I don't even disagree with you that some of the turnovers are bad, but and that some of the turnovers are bad. And I mean, Boston absolutely was able to get some transition buckets. A few of the threes Al Horford hit, they were able to get Jaylen Brown a layup in transition. A 2-on-1 with the 2 J's, going at Iggy.
So that's their nicknames now, huh? Okay.
I've been calling them the Jays for a while. This isn't new. I mean,
they've won one game and now they got a nickname. All right.
Nah, he's been calling them that for months, if not
a long time.
Yeah.
He is hurt tonight. All right, I'd be that fourth quarter I'd have been sick off that fourth quarter. But it's all right. It's all good. But yeah, I mean, just you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to burn everybody at the stake. It's one basketball game. It was one bad fourth quarter. It hurts. They're probably gonna win game 2. They
have to.
They threw a little bit of box and one at Jayson Tatum. I expect more of that. I'd expect some 2-3 as well in game 2, like they threw with the Mavericks. I'm definitely interested. I'm definitely interested in seeing what it looks like with the Draymond Looney lineups and just how many minutes those get. And I'm also interested in seeing if Jordan Poole has a little bit of a quicker hook. But they'll be all right. They'll be all right. They've been here before. They'll be all right. So,
yeah. The Boston Celtics stormed back to beat the Warriors 120-108 in game 1 of the NBA Finals. You're listening to the Spoken Truth Podcast post-game edition. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing to our podcast on Spotify and YouTube. All you gotta do is type in Spoken Truth Podcast in your search engine. What's up, guys? As we continue our post-game coverage of Game 1 of the NBA Finals, as the Boston Celtics storm back to winning Game 1, 120-108 against the Golden State Warriors. Real quick, I wanted to get you guys' thoughts on the player of the game. Let's start with Tunde. Who is your player of the game?
I mean, it's got to be oh man. I think this is tough because there's a lot of different Celtics you could pick. I think for me, it's got to be Al Horford. His ability to guard up and down these lineups, 1 through 5 basically was huge tonight. They're able to get some stops in the fourth quarter off of him switching out and doing a good enough job guarding Steph Curry. Not that, Steph didn't get a good look, but, a good enough job. But more importantly, the shooting, the ability to catch, rip through, and attack and finish was huge. And this is where, before the game, I mentioned that I thought that a lot of this series for Boston was going to be how the quadruplet of Derek White, Grant Williams, Marcus Smart, and Al Horford shot the three ball. Tonight, a resounding win for Boston there. And, from those four and the way they shot the three ball. And this is where, if you're Boston, you feel good watching what Dallas did and the looks Dallas was able to get. And you look at your guys, your role players and the people you kind of put in the Maxi Kleber, Dorian Finney-Smith, Reggie Bullock role, and you look at them and you're happy about the fact that Al Horford is somebody with playmaking chops. Derek White is somebody with playmaking chops who can put the ball on the floor and can handle it and has an in-between game and a floater and things like that. Same with Marcus Smart, even if he's a bit wild, is somebody with playmaking chops. And like, as much as you like Dallas's guys as pure shooters, those aren't guys who really have that playmaking ability to be able to make, multiple reads or advanced reads of really any kind. Those guys were huge tonight for Boston, and I think Al Horford was a ringleader.
Chess.
I would probably lean Al Horford too, but I'll say Jaylen Brown. He had 24, 7, and 5. I think he started 0 for 5 from 3-point range, but then he really got going in that second quarter. And then, obviously, like we talked about early in that fourth quarter, his run kind of changed the game, I thought. So I'll go with Jaylen Brown, but him, Horford, as well as Derek White with 21 off the bench, I thought were probably the three biggest players that, kind of propelled them to this victory.
Actually, can I change my pick?
No.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Can I make my pick Draymond Green? That was a he's with us performance tonight. I think I kind of want to pick Draymond Green a little bit.
You're sick.
All night he was Boston best player.
But all seriousness, I'm going to go with Steph, even though he lost. I thought he was the best player on the court. Just didn't get it done. He ended up with 34, 5, and 5. I think he needs, and you guys got a part, and I think they're doing something back there. So I don't know if you can hear it, but they're doing something. I think they're running a vacuum or something back there.
But isn't it like 1 a.m. in Michigan? The fuck are they running?
Oh man, no, I'm in Ohio. My parents are.
So is it not like 1 a.m. in Ohio?
No, it's 12:40. Oh no, it is. But they're OCD, so they can't go to sleep unless everything gets how they want it. I mean, I'm so serious. Like, it's so funny, but pardon the vacuum being ran in the background, even though they know I'm recording the show. They said we don't care. You gotta love them though. So I'm gonna go with Steph, just because he put on a great performance. They didn't get the dub, but if I had to pick someone for Boston, we will be 3 for 3. I will say Jaylen Brown. He was by far the best player on the Boston Celtics. Speaking of my dad, he keeps making the argument that Jaylen Brown is the best player on that team, and
that is.
And I'm not ready to rule that he's completely wrong yet.
It's wrong.
I know Jayson Tatum is better, but if Jaylen Brown continues to play like this, he will win Finals MVP.
He will still be the second best player on the Boston.
He will win, but it will remind me of Wade and Bosh though. It was Wade's team, but LeBron was the best player. It's Jayson Tatum organization.
Oh, brother.
But I don't know. I mean, he continues to play like this. I'm all for. I got Jayson Tatum, but I'm not ready. I'm not going to
first team All NBA this season, man. What are we?
But I'm not going to rule out that Jaylen Brown could potentially be better than him. I'm not going to rule that out.
Maybe down the road.
Currently, or like in a couple years.
As the vacuum stops. No, I mean, if Jaylen Brown continues to perform like this, I think if the Celtics win, they will win. He will win Finals MVP.
Sure. If Jayson Tatum keeps shooting 3 for 17,
I mean,
Jaylen Brown plays like he did tonight, and the Celtics keep winning, I'm sure it'll be Jaylen Brown's.
But can we be honest for a second though? He slightly played better than him last series. And Jayson Tatum won the Eastern Conference. That's because he's the best player on the team.
I disagree with that, but
sure. I mean, but Jimmy Butler outplayed both of them, but that's another story for here. That's not for here. But
lost the series. We don't give.
No, you're absolutely right. That's why we don't give LeBron credit for scoring like 30 plus. If he didn't win a championship, so that's really all that matters. That's another reason why we having this GOAT conversation, and he ain't the GOAT. He lost so many times. But where's the Lakers, Tunde? Where are the Lakers?
What the fuck do the Lakers have to do with anything?
I know he couldn't answer. They're at home, like us. They're at home, just like us. They watching the game just like we are.
The Lakers. Let's talk about the Celtics and the Warriors. Don't change the subject of this apple.
So the two best players on both of these teams, Curry and Tatum, although we know that Tatum really didn't show up, I would like to get you guys' take on how you expect him to bounce back from this game one performance, Chaz.
I expect him to have a huge game in game two. I mean, even if they lose, I feel like he's going to come out aggressive and probably locked in. I mean, after this type of performance. But like we said, he had the 13 assists. Like, I think he still has to do that same type of thing. Like, if he doesn't need to force shots. I mean, he has guys around him that have that ability. So, I mean, swing the ball. If it comes back around to you, like, then maybe it's your time to work. But there's no reason to force anything, especially with a 1-0 lead. So I think he's going to come out with some freedom. I think the Warriors are going to kind of, I don't know if they're going to, pull away in game two or anything like that, but I feel like the Warriors are going to win game two. But I do expect Tatum to have a big game in that one and for most of the games in this series.
What do you expect from Tatum, Sunday, in game two?
I think in game two, the key for Jayson Tatum is to take the orange thing that you have in your hands
and make it and shoot it
put
and
it
make
inside the ring that you're throwing the ball towards. And I think
he breaks it down. He's breaking down the game for us, guys.
And I think if he does that, he'll be just fine. But in all seriousness, like it's not much more than like make shots. I think he was. I think he passed the hell out of the ball tonight. Was making consistent, advanced reads out of the pick and roll. Was able to read help consistently. He got downhill. Was able to, collapse defense, kick out the shooters. Boston's role players were all a beneficiary of the attention that he drew. Just for himself, it's blowing layups at the rim, missed like legitimately, I think he went 0 for 4, 0 for 5 on catch and shoot threes tonight. And I mean, 3 or 4 of those are with nobody within like 10 feet of him. I mean, if that's the quality of look that he's gonna keep getting, he's gonna average like 30 for this series, and everything will be just fine for him.
Well, he's not off to a great start.
I think they won the game tonight, so I would argue it's off to a fantastic.
He's not off to a great start. He got a hill to climb.
I know he's happy though after that performance, even though
he was all smiling and cheesing like he really, like Jaylen Brown and Curry and Al Horford.
Like he won his first finals game. I mean, that's important.
I think he'll be just fine with that.
One step closer. That's all that matters right now.
Whatever. I think we all expect kind of more from Steph. I know we've seen him put up the 34 points, but also we expect him to perform better in the fourth quarter. So I don't think we really have to touch on. I think we all agree that he has to show up in that particular moment more often, and not if the Warriors are going to win this series.
I mean, I disagree with that. I do think there's something to talk about.
Okay.
Steve Kerr's normal rotation pattern for Steph.
Man, we about to get into a whole ball. Can we wait for coaching for that? I know we're going to talk. Let's do it. How about let's talk about coaching now then. Let's talk about coaching now then.
Let's just do it.
Go ahead.
I'll open it up. So Steve Kerr's normal rotation pattern is that Steph sits at the beginning of the second and the fourth quarter.
Yes.
The Warriors did not survive the non-Steph minutes tonight.
Yes.
Just point blank period. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I would estimate that in the non-Steph minutes, they were probably they had to have been at least a -12. Probably more because the first 4 or 5 minutes of the fourth quarter were non-Steph.
9-0 run.
Were largely non-Steph minutes, and that was a 9-0 run. Then they were, they were hemorrhaging points. They were bleeding points. Going forward, I'll pose this question to the two of you. Going forward, what does that look like? We've seen in years past that Steve Kerr has been Steve Kerr is pretty rigid with these rotations. Should he stick to the normal rotation patterns? Should Steph be starting fourth quarters? What do you guys think?
I've had this problem with Steve Kerr for years. For years. The way that he manages Steph minutes is asinine. I don't understand why your star is sitting half of the most pivotal quarter in the game. That's been my stance since day one when he first started sitting Steph the first half of the fourth, the first half of the second, and playing the entire first and third quarter. I've had this problem with Steve Kerr for a long time because what tends to happen, and this has happened multiple times, Steph Curry will sit this first 6 minutes of the fourth quarter, and he will literally watch a double-digit lead evaporate within minutes and do nothing. Do you know how pissed you have to be if you're on that bench and Steph Curry being Steph Curry and you're sitting here watching my team lose this lead possession after possession? He don't stop the bleeding. He don't call timeouts. He don't do anything. In particular, I've watched Steve Kerr. It was about 2 years ago they were playing Denver. The Warriors were up 15 points in the third quarter. They blew that lead up to 20. I've watched the Warriors blow a 20-point lead from the start of the fourth quarter to the 6-minute mark of a fourth quarter in a game and end up losing that game to Denver. That's initially when I first brought up, okay, the minutes, they were already cutting it close a lot of these games. It was the fact that you blew that much of a lead and you let your star sit. And then you move forward. He continues to let the lead evaporate in the fourth quarter with Steph sitting on the sideline. Steph has to play at least 8 minutes of the fourth quarter. I don't know how you make it happen.
He did play 9.5 though tonight.
He did play about. He did when they were on that run. He did put him in at, I think it was around an 8:30-ish minute mark, something like that.
It was 9:35. He called timeout with 9:35.
9:35. So he put him in a little early because he realized that the lead that they had was gone. So I don't know if he. I will play Steph the whole fourth quarter.
So would you sit him at the end of the third then?
I would sit him at the end of the third.
How much? Because you don't want that lead to evaporate then. Steph needs to get.
Do he really need to play the entire first?
Huh?
Do he really need to play the entire first? I don't think he needs to play the entire first.
Yeah, they ran into that problem in the second quarter and in the fourth quarter tonight. Like those non-Steph minutes, like you said, Tunde, were just not good.
What's wrong with him sitting 3 minutes of the last 3 minutes of the first? He sits the first maybe 7 minutes in the third.
7 minutes?
I don't know exactly how you.
He would start the second half. I
don't know exactly how you do it, but I just know that it should equate to maybe because the way that it is like 12 minutes he sits total. Mm-hmm. If you could keep it to 12 minutes within a game, and maneuver, where he gets his rest, but still have him play about 8 minutes in the fourth quarter, I'm fine with. I don't know how you do it. I just know that he sits for 12 minutes in a game. I don't know how you mess with the rotation. I don't know what you have to do. But him playing the entire first quarter and third quarter, to me, is unnecessary. I feel like he could find rest somewhere in between those quarters.
Yeah,
in order for him to prepare him for that fourth quarter.
I don't think it would be a bad idea to try and steal a couple minutes at the end of the first and the third quarters. But at the end of the day, I think they're going to run into this problem a lot when Curry's not off he has to rest for 8 to 10 minutes every single game, probably at least, and somebody's going to have to step up in those minutes no matter what.
If you're giving up, if you sit a guy down for 2 minutes and 2 minutes goes by and it's a 9-0 run every time, that's not.
Yeah.
That's not a problem that's not a rotation problem. You got to know you got other problems at that point.
No, but I think my problem is Steve Kerr unwillingness to put him in the game when he knows it's getting out of hand. That's my issue. I don't necessarily have a problem with the way he sits Steph. My problem is when Steve Kerr knows the team is storming back and he does absolutely nothing. If your best player is on the bench and they help you build this 12-point lead, and all of a sudden you see that lead evaporates just like that, and your best player is still on the bench, you need to change something.
That's the thing. He called a timeout after 2.5 minutes and got
I'm not just talking about today.
Yeah.
I'm talking about this has been going on for a long time.
Yeah.
But
it's not just today.
But I feel like there have been quite a few times where even if we just limit it to this year, there have been quite a few times where non-Steph lineups have pushed the lead out to 20 points, and then Steph gets to
that's
don't
fair.
Have to play at all.
That's fair, but you still have to know your personnel. Even if they push the lead, they could get the 10 point and they push it to 20. I'm not saying that's not plausible, because it definitely is. But when you're in a situation, we take today for example, when you're in a situation where your team is teetering, like your team is teetering and your star is on the bench, like you have to be able to situational awareness. I was telling my sister this. Situational awareness. You see your team is teetering. Okay, call timeout. You have to put your best player back in the game. Like, if Steph Curry was not back in the game after that timeout, I was going to lose my mind. I'm like, dude, you just look at they're storming back. The game is teetering. It's literally in the balance. It was in your favor. Now it's teetering in the opposite direction. And all of a sudden, you're going to continue to sit your star. He's done that too many times in the past. He did it correct today, but I'm saying he's done that specific thing too many times in the past that's cost the Warriors so many games. He has to know in this situation, in these finals, when they're making a storm, they're making a comeback, I need my weapon. I need my lethal weapon on the court. Because if he's not in that situation, they're going to blow us out the water. And that's what happened in the fourth quarter. Even with Steph in the game, they still blow them out the water. But at least with Steph, he gives you a chance.
Yeah, I know that's been a problem with Warriors fans, going back years that they don't like the way that, Kerr handles Curry's minutes. But, I agree, with you guys that I feel like he did handle it the right way tonight. It was just, they got beat in those minutes pretty bad. And they got beat even worse once he did come back in that fourth quarter. So, there's things that they got to fix for game 2. But
you go down with your gun, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You go down with your gun.
Yeah. I think, going into that fourth quarter up 12, I think Steve Kerr probably said, we probably can get Curry, a quick rest right now. And I feel like that's a reasonable thought. And then a quick 7-0 run forces the timeout and you got to get him back in.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I've seen LeBron James so many times. And this is one of the reasons why I respect him so much. I've seen him so many times. He watches his team literally give a lead away. He's off the bench without even the coach saying, you're up. He's off the bench. He's already at the scoring table. Like, literally already at the scoring table. Like, I'm not about to sit here and watch my team, like, literally lose the lead that I just helped build. Like, that's kind of where my mind goes. If LeBron James is in that situation and he sees his team is teetering, LeBron James is getting off that bench. LeBron James is going to the scoring table. And with or without the coach saying, okay, go in, he's going in the game. Like, that's just how it is. And when you have that type of star power, you have to be able to know, like, okay, this might not be the best decision, but right now, I think this is the best decision for our team. And if I can help us win in some way with my presence on the court, I will.
The worst I've ever seen, the worst stat I've ever seen as far as plus minus, and I think y'all have heard me reference this before, but Game 3 of the 2017 NBA Finals, LeBron James played 46 minutes, was a +7, and Cleveland lost by 5 points in regulation.
Yeah, but you go down with your gun, though. Like, you're going to go down with LeBron James, whatever, win, lose, or draw. That's why I don't have a problem with Jimmy Butler taking a shot. I'm going to go down with the person that got me to the dance. If you want to play 46 minutes and we still end up losing, but you put up all you can put up and you did all you could done, I don't have no problem with it. But I'm not going to lose on the sideline knowing that I could potentially help. That's how I look at it. So LeBron having that plus minus, LeBron playing 46 minutes, still not getting the job done, nothing but respect. But when you're on the bench, you watch your team dwindle that lead, and the teetering of the game was in your favor once, in your favor, now it's no longer in your favor. And you can't do anything to stop the bleeding once you get in, because by the time you get in, the lead is already gone. The game is practically over. You can't do anything to get back into that game because you let so much time pass. So even though LeBron lost that finals, I still give him credit. I'm like, dude, just played 46 minutes, just played his ass off, just gave his team that has no business competing with this team at any level, gave them a chance to win. Even though they lost, he still gave them a chance to win. That's respect. Like, tip my hat to you. I don't got a hat, but tip my hat to you. Because even though you lost, you gave it your all. That's really my point. But we're going to slightly move on from that. Sticking with the same topic. Now, we wanted to talk about Jaylen Brown and Klay Thompson in this in this series. We know Jaylen Brown exploded in game 1. We know Klay Thompson really had an efficient game, but really didn't put up a lot of points to kind of match or teeter, the outcome of this game in any particular balance for the Warriors' favor. What do we expect going forward with these two individuals, Chas?
I expect both guys to have, nights similar to tonight, but I do expect Klay to score a little bit more. You said he had 15, 3 for 7 from 3. So, I mean, he didn't shoot poorly. I just feel like he has to get up, a few more shots, try and get better looks, especially in that fourth quarter when it seemed like things were starting to slip away. So I expect Klay to, be a little bit better going forward. But, Jaylen Brown, like you guys said, especially in that second half, he was huge. And if he can play like that consistently, then Boston has a real chance to win this series.
I mean, if they get that Jaylen Brown, Boston will win the series, I think.
Yeah.
I think they're going to – spoiler, I think they're going to get that Jaylen Brown. I don't really think the Warriors can – I don't really think the Warriors have the personnel to guard him.
Just say sweep. Just call it a sweep. Just say sweep.
No, I don't think it's going to be a sweep. Jesus Christ. I just don't think the Warriors will win the series. I think we're going to get very good series that we'll all be happy with as basketball fans at the end of the day. This is not a Warriors dub, which might not make Danny happy. But,
it's just basketball at the end of the day. It's not life or death.
For sure not.
It's definitely not. So, I mean, obviously, I picked the Warriors to win this thing, but at the end of the day, like, it's one game. You still got a long series to go. Adjustments will be made. I expect them, like Chad said, I expect them to win game 2. I expect the team to come out and play like a team that we saw close out against Dallas. I expect that type of Andrew Wiggins. I expect the team overall to be better. And if they could do that, they will win game 2 and go to Boston with this series tied 1-1. And I do believe they could steal a game in Boston.
Oh yeah.
So I think that's very likable. I don't think that's the word for it. Likely. So I think we're coming back to Chase Center, maybe tied 2-2. No. Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe you're tied 2-2. So I think that's very that's something that can potentially happen. I'm curious now, Tunde. Real quick, do you have Boston winning game 2?
I actually have the Warriors winning game 2. So
Okay. And you have in chat, you have the Warriors winning game 2?
Yeah, I mean, me and you both, coming in the night, we had Warriors 1 and then Celtics 2. So, I mean, kind of forced to flip flop that because I feel like, the Warriors are going to tie it up going back to Boston for sure.
Gotcha.
Danny, where does your panic meter go if the Warriors do go down 2-0? I mean, not for you as a fan, but as the Warriors organization, down 2-0 going on the road, that's tough to come back from.
I think it goes up to 8 or 9.
Yeah.
I think it goes up to 8 or 9 if the Warriors go down 2-0. I'm not saying that they can't come back from it, but I'm saying it starts to become an overwhelming task, especially we have a defense like that. And especially you start looking back on game 1 and you start saying we had them. So now you start looking back at things you could have did better in that game, and that still can hinder you because, you go down 2-0, potentially, you lose a game and, and you go down 0-3, heaven forbid. Then you start really looking at game 1 and go, okay, we should have won this one, so I don't think that's going to happen, but I think the panic meter definitely goes up to an 8 or 9 if the Warriors somehow was to head to Boston down 0-2. What would you say, Chas?
Yeah, I would probably put it right there, 8 or 9, probably like you said, just because that's a daunting task to have to beat a team that's playing at this level 4 out of 5 times. With that said, I think it could be done. It would just put immense pressure on that game 3. I mean, that's obviously a do or die at that point. But I think we're all in agreement that the Warriors do win game 2. Let's say the Celtics do sneak up on them. What's the key to that, Tunde, in game 2?
So they said the pressure's 1,000.
You said what?
The pressure. You said the pressure's 1,000.
On who?
On the Warriors.
I mean, I think you probably don't want to go down 2-0. It's not a good thing. So yeah, it's a pressure-packed game, but it's the NBA Finals. Every game is pressure-packed. It's high leverage basketball at its highest leverage. I mean, I think if the Celtics win game 2, it'll look something like what it did tonight from a scheme perspective. I'm curious to see again what lineups the Warriors throw out there. Whatever lineups they throw out there, Draymond Green has to be significantly better. I'm sure he knows that. He's smart. I'm sure he knows that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if the Celtics do win game 2, it'll come largely with Jayson Tatum, not shooting 3 for 17 again. It'll be a game that ultimately he plays a lot like he did tonight, except, he puts the ball in the basket. And again, Jayson Tatum is somebody who is, by nature a tough shot maker. But I actually thought his average shot quality tonight was really good. I just think he didn't put the ball in the basket. It's a make or miss league. He's got to make shots. I do think he'll do that next game. I don't think it'll end up in the Celtics win if I had to guess, but I mean, I think he will. I think that's what you're asking for Boston to go up 2-0 in the series.
Yeah. You are listening to the Spoken Truth podcast as we recap game 1 of the NBA Finals between the Golden State Warriors and the Boston Celtics. Boston Celtics defeat the Warriors 120-108 to take a 1-0 lead in these NBA Finals. If you like our content, please consider subscribing to our podcast on Spotify and YouTube. All you got to do is type in Spoken Truth Podcast in your search engine. As we continue our live post-game coverage of Game 1 of the NBA Finals between the Boston Celtics and the Golden State Warriors, I wanted to get into the impact of Game 1 that it could potentially have on the remaining of this series. We've seen in this game a lot of lead changes, a lot of back and forth, a lot of great shot creation and makes. Boston hit every big shot they needed to hit in the fourth quarter to propel them to win this game. What impact do you think game one will have on the remaining of this series, Sunday?
What impact do I think game one will have on
the remaining series?
I mean, I think it's gonna have some impact in that the Warriors are gonna have to they're gonna have to go back to the drawing board a little bit, look at some of the lineups, what they're trying to do. I think some of the impact is that I wouldn't be surprised if there was a quicker hook for Jordan Poole if there was a little bit of a quicker hook for Jordan Poole if things aren't working offensively with him, just because of the defensive issues that are posed by him being on the floor. I just think it's tough because they need his offense. They need his scoring.
Do you think it has to do with it? Do you think it's nerves, or what do you think the poor play from today?
I think sometimes people just play bad and it's that simple. I mean, I think his shot selection tonight wasn't great. I think he forced a few. In particular, there's a contested three he took, where they were in the pick and roll. We've seen all night Boston's preferred, but not just all night, but all season and playoffs. Boston prefers to play drop with their big in pick and roll, but you've got the person guarding the ball going over the screen and trying to kind of navigate that. I understand that it is a bit tough because if that person guarding the ball so much as gets even slightly clipped by the screen, you're giving up. You're letting somebody walk into a three. Jordan Poole thought he was going to walk into a three, but they got around the screen and he ended up shooting if it was 2K, it would have been a very contested red shot meter, and he missed. I think again, yeah. So I mean, I think that's kind of that's a microcosm of kind of the type of shots he took tonight. Not great ones. That being said, I think sometimes people just play poorly. I'm not inside Jordan Poole's head for me to say Jordan Poole isn't ready for this moment. He's nervous and he's this and that. He just played bad. It's one game.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought he got going a little bit in the third quarter, but for the rest of the game, he struggled. That was against a lot of the second unit guys, and him and Porter kind of got going a little bit back and forth, and we're part of that separation that the Warriors made in that third quarter. But then, he struggled like Tunde said, with decision making at times and stuff. I think he'll be fine going forward. They definitely need that scoring punch. Danny, you mentioned earlier them trying to find a way to get that lineup in. I don't know if it's going to be to start because that would be so hard to go against Horford and Robert Williams, and downsize so much. But Steve Curry is going to try and find a way, I feel like, to get that in at some point. And as we saw in other series, Poole is a huge part of that. So I feel like he's going to be a big factor. Only getting 24 points out of him and Klay Thompson combined, I don't think is enough. You probably want that to be closer to like 35 or so. So I think that's something to watch. But I feel like he just, like Tunde said, like he just didn't really have it tonight, but I expect him to be ready to go in game two as well.
For me, this is the first is one game. But this is the first time I've seen the Warriors react to a team. What I mean by that particularly is that usually, other than Steph, because everyone reacts to Steph. But typically the Warriors make you adjust to their style of basketball. So if you traditionally play big, you're probably going to go small because, the Warriors can pull your bigs out and they can't contest with them. So they're going to basically put them in pick and roll action every single time and get a great basket off of it. With Boston is actually resorting to the Warriors having to adjust to their lineups. And I've never seen that from a Steve Kerr-led Warriors team, having to adjust to a team, as I said before, these two teams are very balanced. So Boston definitely has the size advantage. But typically, even though Steve Kerr has traditionally played teams that's larger than his team is, they have a lot of length and girth, and like they've played teams that are historically taller and longer than they've been, because the Warriors are a small team. But they've never adapted the way they have adapted today. Even when they were playing against LeBron and those Cleveland Cavaliers teams, they still made Tristan Thompson come out to the perimeter, force him to go to the bench, and eventually they put Kevin Love in, and Steph still was able to have his way with Kevin Love. So they switched their lineups a little bit because of the movement, the ball movement of Golden State, and they eventually brought Thompson back in. But I'm saying they're reacting to the shots and what the Golden State Warriors are doing on the offensive end. This is the first time the Warriors has reacted to another team like match for match. They've reacted tonight. Instead of going out playing their style of ball, playing their traditional, what they're going to play. Looney at the center, Draymond at the 4, or however they want to do it. I think they somewhat reacted because they started to go smaller than they usually do. And when Boston went small, Golden State went small. When Boston went big, Golden State went big. So I think they reacted to Boston more than they ever reacted to a team that they ever played in this extended dynasty run. And if I'm Steve Kerr, I have to remember, I have the magnet that everyone is attracted to. Steph Curry. I'm basically using Steph Curry as a magnet here. He's the magnet that everyone's attracted to. So everything revolving on the floor, whether it's offense or defense, is centered around him. So I have to make that into my favor because Boston is reacted to Steph. Golden State is reacted to Steph ball movement. Everything is reacting to this magnet that I have. The Golden State Warriors have to remember that we're not supposed to react. We have to make them react to us. And that's why I think they kind of lost their way a little bit, because when they started to react to Boston started to dominate at that fourth quarter. I think literally at the beginning of the fourth quarter, they started to dominate because the Warriors reacted to them. Even when they had the lead, it started when Steph was on the bench, and then they started reacting by supplementing, going big when Boston went big, went small when Boston went small. They started reacting instead of just playing their style of basketball. And they have to get back to making other teams react to them in order for them to be successful, because that's been their ingredients for, years.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's going to be the key going forward. Can they get other guys to step up, like we've been saying? There's a lot of other things that the Warriors need to do as well, but they're not going to win this series if they don't get a scoring punch from some of those other type of guys, especially in the closing minutes. So that's going to be key in game 2. I don't know. What do you guys think is also going to be really important to watch in game 2 as the Warriors pretty much, it's not a must win, but they have to come out in that first quarter like they did tonight and then try and sustain it for 4 quarters.
Sunday.
You on mute.
Yeah, my bad. Sustaining something for 4 quarters is going to look a lot like again, I'm interested in seeing how things work with the non-Steph minutes. They got to be better there. Just across the board, have to do a better job. Find a way to, not let Jaylen Brown cook. I combine the two. They might as well be Jayson Brown. They're one entity right now is the 2 primary wing scorers.
Not tonight, they weren't.
But I mean, I think you got to get better. You have to get, better looks as well in the fourth quarter, especially down the stretch. We saw one that was like a Draymond Green catch and shoot three, like 3-4 minutes left. I think it goes without saying that that's not the shot they want in that scenario.
Absolutely not.
But it's tough because they're gonna give Draymond that shot, and that's where he does so much for them, but it can be tough to work around that at times. And again, I think against the defense is good. Like all of this stuff, that the difficulties that I'm talking about, and the fact that we're straining to figure all this stuff out for the Warriors is why I didn't pick them in the first place, and why I will be right in the end. But
He's so cocky. He's so cocky.
I'm also right. So, I get to be cocky. But.
You got your moment, Chad.
No, I said before the game that I feel like I had Warriors in 6, but I thought that if Boston won tonight, then it was going to go 7. So I think it's probably headed for that type of series, and I feel like it could go either way. I'm not saying that the Warriors can't win this or anything like that. I hope people don't overreact too much to a game one loss, especially one that you led by 12 points going to the fourth quarter. I mean, the Warriors were really just one run away from winning this game. If they could have kept them from going on that 9-0 run or the 17-0 run, you limit either one of those and you probably have a pretty good chance to win. So a few tweaks, here and there, try and get somebody to step up, and I feel like they'll be just fine. But it is a series that they can lose though.
I just think that they have to play better overall. I don't expect Jayson Tatum to go 3 for 17 again. I do expect players from the Golden State to show up. And if you're telling me that, if you're telling me, now granted, I think Boston, to me, has, I can't even see they're a better team. I think they're about even. As far as, player for player, when you're going down the line. Now, Steph is the best player in the series, but when you go through the next 2 through 10, it's not really a big gap between those players. But when it comes down to it, I just think Golden State has the experience. They've been in this situation before. Now, granted, they haven't lost at home. They haven't lost a game one. I don't think they ever lost a game one. I could be wrong about that, but
it was 21-2 coming into the night in the Steve Kerr era.
They were 21-2.
I think that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So they don't lose much. They don't lose many game ones. And this is the first loss they had at Chase Center this playoffs. So they don't lose much on their home court. So I expect them to make changes. I think this is a fill-out game for both teams. I expect both teams to play better than they played today, which is going to be exciting for us because today was a hell of a game, and you're going to play better than that, which I think both teams are. But it's going to be interesting to see how the Golden State Warriors stop Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown, because you can't necessarily completely shut them down, which will slow them down. So it's going to be interesting to see how they can potentially slow them down, because the Warriors, if I'm saying 5 out, I think the Warriors are a better team. I think they have, you can name 5 Warriors players that are better before you get to the 5 for Boston.
I don't know about that.
You talk about Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart is probably the 7th or 8th best player in this series. And then you go down the line. He's not 6'5" or something like that. So you have Tatum, you have Brown, and then
the Celtics have 2 of the top 3, right?
They have 2 of the top 3, yes.
And then
the next 2 or 3 are Warriors.
Well, let's go through it. All right, so Steph Curry is the best player in the series. Then it goes
Jayson Tatum,
Jaylen Brown,
Klay Thompson.
I don't think Klay Thompson is number 4.
Yeah.
I think Klay Thompson is better than anybody on Boston not named Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown. I mean, if he plays like Klay Thompson.
I feel like Marcus Smart might be just as good as Klay Thompson, though.
No.
I don't think that's blasphemous given.
No.
Like Klay
Marcus Smart is not even better than Andrew Wiggins.
I think all those guys are right in that same bunch now. I mean,
no, but I'm saying, but I get the Klay Thompson and Andrew Wiggins before I get to Marcus Smart, in my opinion.
But it's not the separation like it used to be, where it was like Klay.
No, I just said there's one in Steph, and then all of the rest are just they're fighting and jockeying for positions. Well, like I'm not saying it's overwhelming. Like Marcus Smart he's nowhere near Andrew Wiggins or Klay Thompson. I'm saying I still think they're better. I just think the biggest difference is no one's better than Steph. And then it's just everyone else is just clumped together. It just depends on how you rank them in order.
I feel like it's Steph, and then there's Tatum and Brown, who are probably in another category of their own, and then there's probably a drop off, right? I mean,
I don't think no one's on Steph level in this series.
No, me neither. But I don't think any of the other guys that we mentioned, like Klay, Wiggins, Marcus Smart, I don't think any of them are.
Oh no, none of them are. Oh, you're talking about tiers. So Steph is a tier,
right,
and then you have another group of tier, and then there's another group. Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, the Warriors are the only one with somebody on tier 1, but the Celtics are the only people with guys on tier 2, and then tier 3 and 4 are very jumbled up. I mean, I feel like the top 6 guys on both teams are very equal. Can do a lot of versatile things. So I mean, it's a series that I feel like is going to go deep, but I don't know. We're talking top 10 or 11 players. I feel like the Celtics might have a slight edge.
I don't know.
It's close.
Yeah, it's definitely close, but I still think that the Warriors. I think I have my list. I definitely had Steph at 1, and then I had Jayson Tatum at 2. I had Klay at 3, Jaylen Brown at 4. Draymond at 5, Andrew Wiggins at 6. Then I had Marcus Smart and Poole like intertwined with each other at 7 and 8. Al Horford, and then Robert Williams at 10.
Ooh, I think Al Horford is significantly better than Jordan Poole.
Yeah. Right now, I think
Jaylen Brown is better.
Obviously after we saw game 1, yeah, but.
This is coming from somebody who was a giant University of Michigan sports fan. I fucking love Jordan Poole.
Yeah. Jordan Poole has played. To me, he's played slightly better than Al Horford up until this point
in the playoffs.
In his playoffs.
I don't know.
Now, obviously, this list is fluid and changes because we just saw game 1. The only thing that's really consistent is Steph is 1. There's a big drop off, and then Jayson Tatum is 2.
But that's the thing. I don't think these lists should be fluid. Like that's not how talent.
You don't think it's fluid?
No.
So how would your list go?
I'm just saying in general, like that's not how talent evaluation works. Where it's like, if you outplay somebody in one game.
Okay, but if you're asking me, Jordan Poole, to me, I'm looking at the upside. I'm looking at what he does. I'm going to take Jordan Poole over Al Horford. Like,
I'm not right now.
I'm not in right now, but I'm saying obviously Al Horford probably won't be in the league that much longer. Not 5-10 years to see Jordan Poole as potential. But I can't look at a kid that's only 20 years old, not even at his peak yet. I can't say that he won't be better than what Al Horford is.
Maybe,
but I also can't say he can.
Right now, that matters.
I also can't say he can either. So I can't say it either way. But all I can say is up until this point, not including game 1, Jordan Poole has had a better playoffs than Al Horford. But now, obviously, to me it is.
Yeah.
I think his impact is greater than Al Horford's is for his team.
I thought Horford, he was probably the biggest reason that they were able to limit Giannis in a lot of those games. He was huge. And what was it, game 5 against Milwaukee? That was a very similar night to the one that he had tonight, where he was.
I think at the end of the day, we're splitting hairs here. I think I think we're splitting hairs here at the end of the day, but I mean, I still have. I mean, there's Marcus Smart he's not better than Andrew Wiggins. Like he's just not.
Klay Thompson's not better than Jaylen Brown though. Like
not at all.
I don't know. I will fight. I will fight on that one. But
there's nothing to fight about it.
We're not going to do that today. I will fight on that one, but we're not going to do that today.
All right.
Anything else you guys want to say?
Nothing else from me.
Nah, looking forward to game 2 though.
Yes. Oh, predictions. Did we do it? I think just go over predictions one more time. You have game 2 going. I have game 2 going to the Warriors.
Yeah, I'm taking the Warriors too. I think we all were right today.
Well, I will side with you all on this one.
All right.
Who would you guys say real quick is just like the number one player that you need, that you think the Warriors need to step up in that game too?
Klay.
Let's say besides Steph, yeah.
Draymond.
I think it's Draymond too. Yeah, I think both guys do need to, but Draymond was pretty bad tonight. He can't play like that again.
If Klay can explode the way that we know Klay explode, the Warriors should win this game handily.
Yeah.
And I expect Klay, if Klay resembles game 5 against Dallas, game 6 against Memphis, the Warriors will blow the roof off Boston in game 2 if he played the way that he played. I just think that he has. I just think that I'm being a little facetious here, But I do think the Warriors win. I do think they win by double digits, maybe 10.
Okay.
If that's the case, I'll be sarcastic sometimes, but I do think they win by double digits if Klay can resemble that type of game. I don't know, man. It just seems like he can do it maybe once every 3 games. He's not fully there. He's not fully himself. I still think he needs a full training camp, a full year under his belt before he can be this version of Klay Thompson that we expect him to be. I don't think he's ever going to be pre-injury Klay Thompson again. But I think we haven't seen the best of this version, the version with the 2 season injuries. We haven't seen this best version of Klay Thompson, or maybe we have. So we really don't know until he could put that time in on the court and get a full training camp off season to get back into condition. Because, I mean, I know you guys know because you guys play ball, it's a difference between coming to training camp in shape versus working your way in shape. Luka Doncic works his way in shape every year. Like, he doesn't come to training camp in shape. If he did, he'd be MVP already. He has to work his way into shape. The first 23 games, 25 games, trying to get in shape. If he already came in shape, it will already work in his favor even more. So I think Klay Thompson, he needs that because he has to get in shape on the fly. And sometimes it just doesn't work for particular players. That's where I'm at with it. I think Klay Thompson has to perform like Game 6 Klay. He got that name for a reason. It's not Game 6, but he has to put up more points than he did today and have a bigger impact on the game than he did today in order for the Warriors to win this game, Game 2. And if they don't, they won't win Game 2. It's just that simple. Draymond, I expect Draymond to make boneheaded decisions sometimes. You take the good with the bad, but he was awful today. And he can't play the way he played today and expect this team to win this series at all. So I just think the Warriors as a unit need to hold themselves more accountable and say, you know what, we're better than this. And we can play better than this. We just, better than we did today. And it starts with Draymond and Klay because Steph played great. He wasn't great in the stretch, but Steph played great. But, others are not going to look at it like that, but because they didn't get the win. And he didn't score in the fourth quarter after I don't think he scored in the fourth.
Yeah, he had a layup.
He had a layup or something. I think he scored.
Might have another.
Yeah, but he didn't score that much in the fourth. So, pundits will look at that and say, he didn't no-show. But this is why on Spoken Truth, we state all the facts and we give full opinions. We're not biased. So, I mean, I don't think we're
I
biased.
think both of you might be biased. I'm not sure.
For me or Tunde?
Both of you with your team.
I'm curious. Where's my bias?
Yeah, where's my bias too?
I feel like
don't act. Anyways,
I feel like you're doing a podcast with a Celtics fan and a Warriors fan. Tuna, I know you're not like.
Oh,
I know you're not legitimately, but I mean, you guys have been backing these teams. You know, Danny since the beginning of the year. You know, Tune since the beginning of the calendar.
What's wrong with us being right?
Oh no, nothing. I'm just saying like that. Like you guys clearly do have.
We're 50% right.
I'm just saying you have a team that you're clearly pulling for.
But still, I still could root for this team and still be objective.
Yeah.
Like I think that's a difference. That's where I draw the line sometimes. Like you can never accuse me of not being objective. Like I can root for a team, but I'm also gonna say, okay, you played like dog shit today. And like if you continue to play like dog shit, you're not gonna win. Like I think there's a difference between us and a lot of other people is that they will give their opinion, but their opinion is so one-sided that they can't see that you can make the argument, but you can't see from this standpoint of that's just not journalism at the end of the day. You know, so I think there's a line that you draw between talking the sport that you're talking and also still have an opinion that's outside of the perspective that you're talking about. So I can say the Warriors are going to win the chip, but I also can acknowledge, okay, Boston played a hell of a game today. And if they continue to play like they're playing, the Warriors won't win this series. I think there's a line that I draw when I'm comparing teams, even though my team is playing in the finals.
Yeah. I'm just giving you guys a hard time.
I don't think Tunde do though, you know. So I think Tunde is like 100% biased. You know, he has LeBron as the GOAT. I mean, how is that not biased?
That's not what I was.
Chaz, LeBron's your favorite player. How is that not biased?
I don't think I'm biased towards LeBron.
I don't think I am either. I think I'm very objective when it comes to that.
No, I don't think so. You know, because it took you a long time to see the light this year that they weren't going anywhere. It took you like 3 quarters in the season to realize that at the end of the season that this team wasn't going to go nowhere, that this team is just like so old and they can't do anything. And then they just hired this coach, you know, and you think that's going to make it. I mean, you still have a Russell Westbrook problem, but we're not going to get into the Lakers, you know.
Shout out Darvin Ham, though. Shout out Darvin Ham.
Yeah, he's from Saginaw. Yeah, I mean, he's from Saginaw, but I don't think he's the guy. Like real quick. Like this is not planned, folks. We had no intention of talking about the Lakers real quick, but I just wanted to get you guys real like take on like what do you think of that hire? I know we haven't been talking about the Lakers, but real quick, Chaz, what do you think about that hire? Like, is it a good move or a bad move? Like, are you undecided? Like,
no, I feel like it's solid. You know, it might not be. I don't know if it was their number one option, but I feel like it's a better. I feel like he's gonna be better than Terry Stotts would have been, or Doc Rivers or somebody like that. Like, I mean, I don't know who else was even an option. Like, Darvin Ham to me is better than Mark Jackson. So I'm not saying.
You think so?
Everyone is better than Mark Jackson to me.
Oh, stop! Man.
I mean, I'm not saying it's like an A+, but I'll probably give it like a B+ higher. But it's gonna be more how he deals with like you said, the Russell Westbrook problem and other issues that roster has going forward.
Laker fan Tunde, what do you think?
I'm a Laker fan. But everyone is better than Mark Jackson to me. If you had
Mark Jackson.
Oh, there's so many things. The super antiquated offensive system. The fact that he was fucking up rotations too. The fact that he was pitting players against each other in the locker room. Do you want me to keep going?
No.
The Warriors were. It's hilarious how there's like a cult following for Mark Jackson. Like the Warriors weren't a 51-31 6 seed his last season that he coached there, and then they ran it back with the same core of players and won 67 games in an NBA championship the next year. And then people act like Mark Jackson was somehow responsible for them improving by 16 games and winning a title the next year. Like they didn't completely revamp their offensive system.
He has so much hate in his heart right now.
I don't have a hate in my heart. I think that it was I remember even at that time watching the 2014 Warriors and thinking like this team should be so much better than they are. And like coaching is the reason they're not. Anyways, I like the Darvin Ham hire. I think it's a good hire. You said what?
You were graded an A?
Sure. I think of all of the candidates that they had going, I think of all of the candidates they were interviewing, he probably would have been my number one candidate. I would have been cool with Kenny Atkinson or Terry Stotts as well. But Darvin Ham was probably my favorite candidate. I think Mark Jackson is just a thing that NBA teams float now at this point, so they can hire whoever they actually want to hire without their fans being mad at them. Like, if you wanted to hire Kenny Atkinson, you'd be like, we're going to interview Mark Jackson. Everybody's like, no, get the fuck out of here. And you're like, well, we're also interviewing Kenny Atkinson. And then people are like, that's fine, I guess. Then you hire Kenny Atkinson. Anyways, I mean, I don't disagree.
They playing foolery on their fans.
I don't disagree that Russell Westbrook is a problem. But to answer your thing about
you say you don't agree that Russell Westbrook?
I don't disagree.
I'm about to say, boy.
I watch basketball. It's definitely a problem. To answer your question, when you were like, oh, well, Tunde, it took you so long to say, that the Lakers weren't gonna be anything good last year.
That's a bad impression of me.
I'm doing Kyrie Irving's impression of if y'all saw him on Twitch. That shit was hilarious. Anyways, but yeah, I think I was pretty clear in what I was saying. My point was that I believe that a healthy LeBron James and Anthony Davis is still the best duo in the league. I still think that, by the way. I think that if those two are healthy, it's the best duo in the league, and that you'll have a fighting chance against who you play against. Just generally speaking. And so my point was, my whole point was like, let's see what happens when AD comes back healthy. I didn't think they were going to win the title. I wasn't saying they were title favorites or anything like that. My whole point was Anthony Davis is going to come back healthy.
That's where you messed up at.
Things might look different. Then he wasn't healthy, and LeBron also wasn't healthy. So, it's pretty obvious once that happens, nothing good is going to happen. Realistically, if either one of them gets hurt, that's not a title to you. That's fine.
Yeah. See, I think you first messed up when you thought AD was going to come back healthy. That he was going to show any resemblance of health at all, knowing that this man his name is street clothes on the street. He don't really play a lot of games in NBA. I don't know the last time he's played 60 games. It's been a while, I think. I mean,
2020 when they won an NBA championship.
Oh, when they had like that 3-month gap because of the pandemic. I got you. 60 something. I think.
I mean, earlier today, you were talking about Jimmy Butler and singing Jimmy Butler's praises, and when you were talking about Jimmy Butler, the bubble was all of a sudden valid and real, and it all counted. Then.
No, it does. I'm just saying. No. I'm saying I never took away the Lakers championship in the bubble. Never. I said they won a championship. They had 3-month layoff. You can't use that as a crutch of saying, "Oh, he was healthy in the bubble."
That's disparaging.
Because that man is never healthy for a full season. I don't know when the last time he played the full season. I don't know when the last time he played 60 games again. You probably have to go back all the way to his old days with New Orleans.
I just told you.
He played 60 something games out of 72 that year.
When they won the championship.
And it was 10 less games.
Okay, you can't use that. You can't use the bubble. You can't use the bubble. You can't use the bubble. Sorry.
Sure, Danny.
Outside of the bubble, when did he play? Dude, they took a 3-month gap in between play. What are you talking about? You better be healthy. You got a 3-month gap in between the season. I hope you're healthy after 3 months. Please be healthy. You bet. Let me tell you now, if he had an injury coming back from the bubble after having 3 months of layoff, they would have threw him out. So if you better be healthy coming back after having 3 months, before that, or after that. When did he play 60 plus games? Let me know, because I can't recall. I don't recall at all. So I'm not using a bubble against him. They won a championship, fine, but don't use that as a crutch to say, oh, he played 60 games when they had a 3-month off season, essentially in the middle of the season. Of course you better be healthy.
I mean, you asked when the last time was, and we just told you.
Everybody had the same exact circumstances.
Contacts.
Everybody has
contacts.
Everybody.
I think everybody plays 60+ games that season.
Everybody had
75.
Everybody that made it. Everybody that made it to the bubble, I think, played 60+ games.
Every single team had the exact same circumstances that season.
Context.
All did, and the Lakers won the championship.
Context. But I'm
talking about the Lakers.
I have to get to my grade. I don't know. Like, I'm undecided still. I don't know much about him. I haven't seen him coach on a professional level. Me personally, haven't seen him coach on a professional level. So I also don't think there was a better candidate they could choose. I don't think they had that many, a pool of potentially people that they really wanted to choose from, because they probably wanted people that were unavailable. But again, like, I don't know. Like, I can't discredit the guy or give the guy praises because I have no idea his coaching style. I've never seen him coach on a professional level. So I mean, I'm looking at it with an open mind. LeBron's happy about it. Anthony Davis seems to be happy about it. So let's see if they can fix that other problem that they have in Los Angeles. That's the big one. The coach really won the issue, but we're not going to talk about that. Frank Vogel won the problem, but that's another difference.
He wasn't good.
He wasn't a good coach. He wasn't a good coach, but they still put a lot of the blame on him.
But beat this topic to death on this podcast.
No, absolutely. No, this is new information that we got on this. This is new information. But no. I just wanted to get you guys' take on that because I know we haven't talked about the new coach. So I wanted to get where people were at, and I'm also not too familiar with him. So I wanted to get other people's opinion on like what they think about that situation. But I had to remember who I was talking to. I'm talking to LeBron fans here. So of course they're going to be like, great move for the organization.
I would say it was probably good, not great, but I mean, he's been with Budenholzer for, I think, almost a decade now. So, I mean, I think he's learned a lot. I think, with that run the last couple of years, winning a championship last year with Milwaukee, like, I mean, I think, as well as winning a championship as a player with the Pistons, like, he's going to be able to talk to the Lakers. These guys are going to respect him. They're going to listen to him. We'll see if it turns into winning. We'll see what they can do with the roster during the offseason. But I think we can all kind of agree they didn't really have anybody else where it was like that was a clear option above him. This is probably the best that they could have done this offseason.
Yeah, that's fair. Anything else from you guys as we wrap up Game 1 post coverage of the 2022 NBA Finals?
No, AD played 75 games in 17 and 18.
He still went back. You were done with the Laker conversation.
I just wanted to let you know, but
2017.
And 18, back-to-back years.
Jesus, 2018. And
he was been 3 years. He was a top 7 player at the time.
It's been 3 years. It's been 3 years since that.
No, but you asked last time.
Actually, 4. It's been 4 years since that. 3 or 4, whatever. But it's been a long time since that. But, we're not going to be talking about the Lakers anymore in the future anyways. So it doesn't it doesn't even matter. No, the when the offseason and trade come, maybe they could ship, some 6'3" guy out of there. But I don't think so. He's worth $47 million, and I don't think no one's going to pay him that. That's just my take on it. But anything else you guys want to discuss from Game 1 of these finals?
You were all wrong, and I told you. Mm-hmm.
So
that's all. We can wrap it up now.
2 days night.
You know what, Tunde? You know what? All the praises. You know what? I can't even say anything.
Thank you. That's all you had to say.
You did say Boston was going to win this game, but it's going to feel so good if the Warriors end up winning this series because you have a whole summer of hearing about this. Like, you have a whole summer of me beating this in your head. And if you think that me talking about the, Lakers not making it, just, the stuff that you're doing right now is just, amped up. It's going to be amped up to the 10th degree of what I'm going to do if the Warriors capture this championship. And I think it's going to be vice versa, But we shall see as we conclude Game 1 of the 2022 NBA Finals. The Boston Celtics defeat the Golden State Warriors 120-108. You have been listening to the Spoken Truth podcast post-game edition. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing to our podcast on Spotify and YouTube. All you got to do is type in Spoken Truth podcast in your search engine. You can find me on Twitter at Danny Murphy Jr. 1.
You can find me on Twitter at Chaz_post23.
And you can find me on on Twitter at KingTunde25. It's late as hell, y'all.
It ain't even late on your side of town. It's late for us. Like, it's almost 2 a.m. over here. Right. What you talk about? No, you know what? What I was looking at earlier when he said he was about to go to the gym, I'm like, okay, he yawning. You know, I'm thinking in the back of my head, like, he ain't going to the gym tonight.
Yeah, like, a couple glasses of wine, too.
He got the wine. He ain't about to go to no gym. He talking about lifting some weights. He ain't about to go lift no weights tonight. After the wine you done consumed, nah, you ain't going. Nah.
Well. That's just the price to pay when you get to bask in glory for 2 hours. So.
you ain't going, man. All right, you can watch Game 2 coverage pre and post game on Sunday. See